till I came here.
Oh, The Wolf Among Us. Game was okay. Not as good as The Walking Dead. It's like watching a really weird random cartoon. I keep forgetting it's associated with DC, which is weird. It makes sense in some ways, like the comic book style, the violence. It's something DC would do. But then you think of like the fairy tale characters and the even just the wolf himself. It's kind of like, it's weird because I could see it fitting in. You think of the superhero stuff. I mean, this guy does remind me of a little bit of Wolverine, which is funny because Wolverine has nothing to do with DC. It's weird. There's a few reasons why I play this. It's Telltale's. Walking Dead was really good. I played season 1 of that years ago on the PS3. You know, it's like watching a movie, some QTEs here and there, whatever, fine, but there was a moment not long ago where I played a lot of like movie games. Like this, I played more Walking Dead. I didn't finish the last season though, the final 4th season. The Quarry, the Until Dawn, the Dark Anthology, they're all like movie show like type things. The only ones I'll never touch is like the live action stuff. I don't know if I can do that. Like I want to sit there and chill a bit. Those are a little weird. But yeah, just playing this would just made sense because of my history with Walking Dead. And I've seen some, not like a whole playthrough or whatever, but I've seen some gameplay beforehand. It just looked good. I don't have to think too much about it. Like it's not up there as in a game I'd go out of my way for, but it's not something to play. And I want to say I played it during Halloween, because it does kind of fit that whole thing. This is actually when I played a lot of these types of games, was during Halloween, because a lot of these kind of you know, this, The Walking Dead, the other stuff, they're horror related, I guess. This one's kind of, there's some horror elements in it, but it's definitely not a horror game. It's just kind of like a game. You know, point and click and dialogue options, and you know, it's what you would expect from. I don't feel like someone's gonna run into this game and just play it randomly. There's gonna be some context there, like, oh, they heard about it, or this and that, or it's a classic. these types of games, I don't know if they're for everybody. They're not really that hard to play or anything, but I also realize there's a lot of people who kind of just want to do something and shoot something and pew pew, and you know, you really gotta have the patience to like sit through the cutscenes and the actually bother to walk around and look at stuff and get all the dialogue out. And so yeah, it definitely takes patience. Yeah, it's a cozy game. What's funny about these QTE games is you can't really just sit back for like 5 minutes like a normal game and just chill. Like they'll throw QTEs at you, you know, while you're watching, so it's not hard to like set your controller down. I usually put mine right next to me over here in this thing. Like, oh shit. So if I put it in my lap, it'll like fall down. This chair sucks. But yeah, I don't know, it's a game. There's really not much to it. When I got a refresher lately, it's one of those things where like it's a coat. I love the lighting, when it's dark in the city, and it's comfy, relaxing. One thing I don't like about these games is like the cutscene. It's a little janky. Like the way people move around and their expressions. They do a lot of like body language, a lot of expressions, and it really reminds me, when I also think of DC, it reminds me of like you'll see it in the cartoons, the animation, Warner Bros. They're always like giving someone some look. There's a lot of that in here. But yeah, it's cool though, because like you're getting some Telltales, you're getting some Walking Dead, you're getting fairy tale creatures that we all know about. You're getting all kinds of stuff. You're getting the DC things, the elements, are a little bit of everything. So it is kind of cool to. It's so many things. Like the fairy tale stuff alone is already so like big in its own way. Like you think of watching Shrek or something, and you're like, oh man, there's like everything you grew up with as a kid and your childhood, and it's kind of surprising. But yeah, there is one thing from The Walking Dead that's in here. I'm trying not to like give it away, but man, that was really nice to hear. One thing that made The Walking Dead so good. Yeah, but yeah, the cutscenes are good.
Mr. Toad? Oh, shit. Bigby! Listen, mate, I know I don't look human. It's a problem, I get it. I just stepped out the apartment for just a second to see what kind of damage this drunk shit is doing. Just cut me a break, yeah? I'll get me glamour first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that's like most of the game's cutscenes. It's... I don't know, it's tough with this because when I think of The Walking Dead, that's all I can compare it to. I know there's more Telltale's games like Jurassic Park and Batman, things like that, but I would say this and The Walking Dead are probably the biggest two titles they have, in my opinion. I don't really know for sure data-wise, but research and all that. But when you think of like the characters and the story and it's cool seeing all these depictions of these characters that we've known for many years. This is Telltale's versions of them, or you know, whatever the actual deal is here. You know, the big bad wolf, I don't know, definitely a lot of reference material they were able to stick in here. It's weird because when you do think of the Telltale games, you think of all this licensed stuff. And it's weird with this one because that's why it kind of stands out to me, is because it's not really the specific show or movie or anything. It's kind of like really random, and it's a little messy and chaotic. Which I don't really feel like is Telltale's strong suit, but it's part of what gives this specific game its charm too, is because it's not tailored toward you know, something a lot more predictable, or I think it would have been probably pretty hard to do this because when you think of fairy tale characters, there's so many stories and novels and movies and shows of those characters that it's kind of all over the place. And I guess in this case, they gave it the Telltale formula, the style, the little bit of violence, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of a drama, and so yeah, it's all in here, but it's hard to follow. Like, even when I try to think of this game, it's confusing. Like, it's nice when you're playing it because it's like it kind of just goes and you're just playing very passively. It's a good game, but it's not. Like, overall, it definitely doesn't hurt to play it, but my issue with it is like it doesn't. Because it's not like Jurassic Park or Batman or The Walking Dead, where you're kind of following along and you're not like directly comparing it with the reference material that you've known before, like the movies and shows. There's nothing to compare it to. There's always kind of from what little you may know about fairy tale stuff. With fairy tales, I feel like you know of them, but you don't know much about them. Like all the entire story of each character, and when there's such a mix and mash of so many different ones, it's kind of, I mean, really you're just going along for the ride anyway. But so yeah, that's the only negative thing I have to say about it, is it definitely pulls you in, and like, okay, you can kind of pick up on what's going on in like the first 5 minutes. It is very stylistic. It's very, is metro a good word? It's very, you know, the theme of it all, and I don't know. It's like one of those movies, not really Inception, but something like Inception, or something very artistic and creative, and it's like those movies where there may or may not be much dialogue, but it's mostly very trippy and like kind of just one of those more showcases of cinematography and angles and, you know, colors and filters and sound, and like that's not what this game is directly, but more as in like the atmosphere and the vibes and the world and the ambience. It's very kind of you know, you're very intrigued and you stay interested in, but I feel like but it pulls you in so well because of, it's like when a game or something depends on its music more than the game. Like, oh, this is such good music, and that may or may not be the only good thing you can get out of it. It's kind of like this game. They really expect you to just kind of sit back, relax, enjoy it. But I don't think they really cared too much for, like, if you're actually caring about these characters or or what's going on exactly, or this definitely tailors towards that people who like mysteries and detective stuff, and to be honest, that's not really my bag of tea. It's not really for me. It's not all that though. Obviously it's not that simple. Like, you're still kind of just this normal guy doing this and whatever. But they do lean quite a bit on the whole, like, it reminds me of Batman, which is funny because that's another game they did. And this is why I also haven't played the Batman games, is because it's kind of this mix of like action slash being a cop or something. I like Blade Runner, but do I like the whole like authority side of it? Not particularly. It's there and it works for what it is, but I'm just not really into the whole like twists and turns and oh my god, and you know, like the whole whodunit thing. Like, hey, I like Scooby-Doo and I used to play Clue, and I remember Nancy Drew and all that, but that's not really what I want in a video game. You know, like playing stuff like that on a board game back in the day is one thing, but like I kind of just want to play. I don't want to like skepticize everything and you know, analyze every little thing. And I know there's games out there like that too, and you think of like Danganronpa or Batman or maybe Ace Attorney, Evidence and Proof, and it's just a lot of work. It doesn't sound fun to me. Like here, that's kind of what a lot of it is kind of this murder mystery. Which I just think is kind of boring. Because it's like, man, I'm just here to have a good time. I don't need to be thinking about, like... It's like wondering why the sky is blue, man. Who cares? I don't know why, it just is. Gameplay's good.
You're gonna know who I fucking am, you hear me? Hey, look at me!
Just stop, okay? You're drunk. Let's go.
Yeah, one reason why this game got to where it is, I think, is because, yes, it's stylistic, it's relatable to other stuff, yada yada. But obviously its strong suit is the fairy tale stuff, because, like, you really can't go wrong with that. It's a very safe choice and option, because who doesn't know about these characters? Who hasn't heard of them before? Who hasn't read a book or been read a book of these characters or something? So it's one reason why I don't like it versus... It's not that I don't like it, it's just when you think of like the other games they have put out and other games I play or that are out there, whatever, it's leaning so much on stuff that works. Which is fine, that's the whole point, I get that. But I wish they would have... It's obviously a very original story. It's funny because when I think of the DC stuff as well, I think of Mortal Kombat and Injustice, the games, like, where they're just having so many people that you'd normally probably never see together at one time. And now all of a sudden they're kind of all together, this mega mash of like all these worlds colliding, and think of like alternate universes, parallel universes, whatever, same thing. It's just kind of a cop-out. So it's like I like the game, but all the kind of intricate decisions they decided to make it a game, the building blocks, the foundation, not really a fan of. It's like a really pretty building, and then you go inside and it looks like shit. I've just never been big into fairy tale stuff. I find it kind of like, you know, hey, maybe when I was a kid or something, but do I really care about that kind of stuff now? Not necessarily. I'm sure I don't mind me a good Disney movie here and there or whatever, but it's the thing, it's my childhood, it's the past, and this is a very adult game, holy shit. But, which is kind of cool in that aspect as well, sure, like, you know, it's an R-rated fairy tale thing. It's so unique. It's not something you run into every day, that it's its greatest strength and its biggest weakness. You know, when you think of The Walking Dead or something, you're like, yeah, it's just good, and I had a decent time, and there's really not much to say because it's just so good that, like, you don't even need to be like all nitpicky about it. But yeah, I mean, it has its moments, like, I don't know if I'd say it's funny. I'd like to say there's maybe some funny parts, but when I think about it, yeah, what's weird too, the violence and the relatable things, it does remind, it's very dramatic. You know, people getting into arguments and fights and like, squabbles, and it's just kind of like, when I look at these guys, I'm just looking at a bunch of kids, you know, being silly and stuff. It's just like, that's one thing I don't like about The Walking Dead either. They're trying to depict, or they're trying to translate real life over so much to a point where it's actually believable, knowing that we all know this is fake. I don't care how good people are at acting, or if this is a game, or you know, it's just like, ugh. That's another hook that it has. It's dependent on so many things that I think it kind of falls in on itself. Yeah, it's good, but it's not that good. It's playable. Especially on a good system, you know, it looks great. It's definitely one of those games where you gotta put away like a day or two, or however long you need to play this and hopefully finish it, like in one sitting or two, couple, whatever. It's a long game, so yeah, the Wolf Among Us. That's about it. Oh.